All right. Okay, we're glad you're here today. And let me just simply begin, and you be thinking about what you'd like to say. We're going to take a few minutes and give different people an opportunity to say what Ruby meant to them and what she left in their life, because she left a legacy in everyone's life she touched. I think the thing that she taught me through the years, and that was many years of marriage, was don't complain about what you don't have. Instead, be thankful for what you do have. She never worried. It was always, God will take care of it. And she'd go away and not worry. I did the worry. And she'd always say, you need to stop worrying. God will take care of it. And I remember when we got married, we didn't know a lot. We lived at Rents, and I pastored the Rents Baptist Church. Shortly after we got married, and then went from there to Dublin, and there God blessed our ministries, and Ruby was a part of it. You know, all through the years, the first 30 years I pastored churches, I thought that I had good churches because I was a good preacher. And you know, one day I woke up, it wasn't me they liked, it was Ruby. Some of them detested me. See, they know when they got Ruby, they got a jewel. She sang, she played, and she stayed in a pastor's wife's place. She never tried to run the church. She let the church be the church. And she never felt that because she was a pastor's wife that she could make everybody else's decisions. And I'm glad of that. I know many a pastor's been ruined by a wife who didn't stay in the place. They couldn't accept the place that God put them in. They had to assume authority they didn't have. If you're a pastor's wife, doesn't mean you've got any more authority than the least person in that church. You're just a sinner saved by grace. And all during the years, Ruby understood that. She was a sinner saved by grace. And it took me years to understand that. 30-something years of pastoring churches to realize, hey, it's not you. It's her and Jesus. And then it finally dawned on me when I came to friendship what the difference was. It was her and Jesus. And the last 20 years that we were here were completely different. Now, I knew Ruby probably better than anyone else. And the closest I ever came to hearing her say anything bad about anybody was her and Nancy used to fuss about when they'd have to give Ruby a bath. That was after she got bedridden. And Ruby would say, you go wind up burning in hell. And Nancy said, no, I ain't. I got my ticket to heaven. And Ruby looked at her one day and she said, you bought your ticket at the wrong window. But you know, they formed a bond and loved one another with compassion. Because before they leave, they'd have to tell one another they love one another. And they hug one another. It was like two little girls. And sometimes I just sat there in the chair and laughed. It was like two sisters fussing. But I never will forget Ruby said, you bought your ticket at the wrong window. You ain't going to make it. And you know, when she was gone, I wondered what I was going to do. And it was easy to slip into depression the first 2 or 3 weeks and get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And then somebody came into my life that was unexpected. Probably one of the least suspects I had of who would walk into my life was when little Mama Abby walked in my life. And her and her husband became a blessing. I tell you, when he first showed up, I looked at him with skepticism. I knew what she'd been through with that other one, and I didn't want her to get that mess again. Didn't have anything to do with you, so it was just I didn't want her to get that mess again. So I kept him out of eyes distance for a while, sizing him up, and he kind of grows on me. And one day I mentioned to Abby, I said, I'd like to have me a pet. And lo and behold, she got a cat the same day. And her name was Minnie Pearl. When we got him, we changed it to Molly because I figured Ruby wouldn't want me to live in the house with Minnie Pearl. But if you remember Miss Molly on Matt Dillon and Gunsmoke, Dirty Sally not Molly, Sally, that was Ruby's hero, Dirty Sally. And if you ever get a chance to watch those episodes of Gunsmoke, watch that and watch Ponderosa and watch Hoss Cartwright. That was a heartthrob. Few people knew that. Others have Sylvester Stallone and all these. Ruby had Hoss. But anyway, I've about decided we're going to change Sally Mae to Mustang Sally. She's crazy. She goes to sleep and sleeps till 10 o'clock and gets up and stays awake the rest of the night. But we're glad to have you today. And all that has been what Ruby taught me. Don't complain about what you don't have. Be thankful for what you do have. I'm thankful that Abby and Bruce walked into my life. And every Wednesday she comes over to the house and she cleans and she cooks and she makes sandwiches. And Bruce turns on my water and leaves it dripping. And I thank God for them. And I thank God for each of you. You know, all of us have had our troubles, haven't we? I remember when Roger used to be here every Sunday, and then he got away from God, and God brought him back, didn't he? I remember when Mitchell and Lori were regular, and then they were absent for a while, and God brought them back. I remember when Danny and Kathy used to come every Sunday, and then they were absent for a while, and God brought them back. And Errol and Teresa, they've been here with me. I think they're fixtures here. And then all these little ones. We might not have many people, but we've got a great God. And we thank God for his blessings. Now, who else would like to share? If you'll take 4 or 5 minutes and don't spread it out too long, we'll have time for more people to share. Who would like to come in? Okay, come on, Chuck. But just take 4 or 5 minutes, and that way we can spread it out.
I've known Miss Ruby probably less than anybody in here. I met her about almost 7 years ago.
I didn't know that at you.
That's all if you did. But anyhow, I was at a low point in my life, really low, lowest I can ever remember being. And I found out that I needed Miss Ruby and she needed me, because she needed somebody to take care of her baby girl. And so some people do good things. Miss Ruby was just good. Now, I was reading the Bible and I was reading about what the 2 greatest commandments are. And unless you've been in church, you've heard them before. It's love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul. And the second one was to love your neighbor as yourself. Guess what? Miss Ruby did it good. She had the first 2. If you take care of the first 2, everything else will fall into place. You ain't got to worry about the rest of them, because if you'll do that, you can't be bad for long. So I love Miss Ruby. I miss her. We talk about her a lot. I've got a little Miss Ruby I live with, and then poor Jake Watson lives with the little Miss Ruby. So me and Jake got a bond. We understand. We laugh at each other. We pick on our wives because they're 2 peas in a pot, just like Miss Ruby. And one more thing, I'm gonna go because I want y'all to have time. Cindy was bought some of this crazy water. We're trying to get healthy and we're having medical problems and all that. And she bought some kind of finagle water, not apple cider vinegar like Miss Ruby, but it was some kind of fancy water. And it was sitting right there in the middle. And she reached over and she worried about me all the time, just like Ruby worried about me all the time. She patted that water bottle and she said, "This is some good water right here." That's what Miss Ruby did all the time. If y'all hung around her, she said, "This is some good stuff right here." And she would pat it, the sweetest old lady I ever met in my whole life. Just remember, some people do good stuff. Miss Ruby was just good.
Who else? Anyone else?
Really don't have much different to say than what I say every time when I think about Miss Ruby. I'd still be out there living a simple life if it weren't for her inviting me to come to church here. And through her inviting me to church here, my children stay in church. My grandchildren are coming to church. And I always think about Miss Ruby and her apple cider vinegar. There's even a bottle sitting up there by the piano. And I dare anybody to move it. Because Miss Ruby put it there and I think it should stay there. Miss Ruby was a gem, never be replaced. And I love her and I miss her every day.
Who else? Anyone else? Come on, sing.
Y'all know there's some apple cider vinegar sitting in the peanut. Is that what you said? It's hard to stay sad when Ruby's great granddaughter's back there feeding the goldfish and putting clay makeup on my face when I was listening to the mom's testimony. But I don't know if all of you know, but Mama grew up out here on this road. She lived in a little house close to the bridge from about the time she was 13 to she was about 23, I think Dad said, when they got married. So I just think it's kind of sweet how she ended up down here so close to her home and everything. And, but her ministry's just starting. Her ministry didn't end here. My mom, Rebecca, that's my youngest daughter's not here today, and she's sick. Children are sick, but every time she talks about Mama, it always stays with me. She said, "Mama, she was just too good for this world," and she was. She was the most pure soul and heart. I'm sure everybody has their own story and their own experience of Mom. My experience and my story with Mom is she was the most merciful person. She couldn't stand to see anybody suffer. There's been so many people that have gone home with them in the afternoons to eat lunch that she would make sure they had enough to eat. Or there have been people that may have stayed with Mom and Dad for a while. Maybe they had a roof over their head. She taught me how to love. She was just a beautiful example of love. And she taught me how to forgive. She showed me, she didn't just forgive you one time. She's had to forgive many of us 1,000 times. And would have kept forgiving. And if I've ever seen a pastor's wife, Mama, a lot of times she would mistake, a lot of people make mistake in thinking that kindness is weakness and that humbleness and that might be a sign of maybe, whatever you might think it needs to be, whatever. But Mama was very strong. Mama was strong. Mama was the one that held our family together. She was the strength of our family. Mama was the heart of our family. She had a way of bringing people together. And she did it every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. I mean, when I think about me and Chuck trying to plan stuff. Sometimes it seems kind of stressful because you have your children, your family is so big. And I think, well, how are we going to get everybody in this house, in this kitchen, in this living room? And I think about, Mom she never seemed to even consider that. There was always enough food to go around, and there was just always enough. And she just always seemed to have the right words to say at the right time. She always made you feel a certain way. When you came in contact with Mama, you knew you were loved. You knew you were loved. And the one thing I wanted to say was the CD that Dad played this morning. I had mentioned it earlier. Mom had given me that years ago. She walked down to the house and gave me that and wanted me to listen to it. And it was her testimony, along with another CD of her singing. And I had sat them to the side and maybe put them in a drawer somewhere and never took the time to listen to them because life was so busy. And I didn't find them until after Mama passed away. I was looking for pictures to put in her memorial DVD. But when I was listening to it a while ago, and I was listening to, matter of fact, me and my sister listened to it the day that we buried Mom. That night, I wound up in my sister's yard probably about 2 o'clock that morning, grieving. But I wonder why I wasn't here in person to hear her testimony. I wonder where I was at that day. So I encourage y'all, when you love someone, especially your parents, their age, natural age, they're a little closer to heaven maybe than we are because of age. Make sure you spend time with the people that you love. Make that effort. Go out of your way. Call them. Go see them. Go visit. Don't be the kind of family. Well, I made the last call. They didn't come visit me, or I called them last, or they called. Don't keep score. Just go and do and be with those people, because when they're not here, you give anything to being here at that service, to hear her testimony in person. And I didn't know until after Mom passed either, and after Ariel sang that song, Just One Ways, I didn't understand the importance of that. But after going to Mama's graveside, and then when I take Daddy over there, we go get out and kind of walk around and look at some of the other graves, and we found family members and everything. Of course, I knew where my mother's parents were buried at, but when I walked over to her mother's grave, Miss Maddie Penfield, on her grave, on her slab, it says, Just One Rose Will Do. And I never knew that. And if I did, it didn't stand out until now and everything. So, but be more like Ruby. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Be more like Miss Ruby Lee. She wasn't perfect. But let me tell you something, she was close to it. The closest thing I ever had to it. And she was the best person I ever knew in my life, ever will know. More than we ever deserved. More than we ever deserved. As a mother, as a wife, as a friend. And I don't think Miss Lloyd, you were special to Mama. Mama had a card ministry, and she would mail out cards and love on people. But Miss Lori was one that always mailed a card back to Mama. And I just want to thank you for doing that, because that meant so much to my mama. And that was just you're a lot like Mama. Abby, you're a lot like Mama. You're a lot like Mama, and I think that's the reason you and Daddy, God put you there. And you have such a servant's heart and everything. And Mama always knew that she knew at times she was giving more. She knew she was doing more. And she knew that she was giving more than she was getting a lot of times. But that was okay. That's how Jesus loves. And that too, son, She looked a lot like her daddy Jesus. She looked a lot like him. She looked like her daddy. So that's what I want to say about my mom.
Anyone else? You get to tear me up. I spent a lot of time with her. I did. And she always made me feel good. Knowing that I didn't know what I was doing. And she knew I didn't know what I was doing. And she just tried to help me through it all. All right? I'll never forget Pastor Lee saying, Mitchell, I think you should run the choir. I said, huh? And he said, yeah, I think you need to get up there. Miss Ruth, oh, it's going to be fine, Mitchell. It's going to be just fine. We're going to get through this. You're going to do good. And we did. And it was great. And we had a good time. And there was a lot of fond memories of us singing right here and preparing Christmas and all the things that we got to do together. And what a wonderful person she was. The times that when it all started when Mike and Sean and all of us would come over and eat Sunday dinner after church, and how she was there for us. She's like our mama. I mean, we needed somebody to show they care, you know what I mean? Because we've been thrown to the side for so long. And she did. She cared for us. She really did. And Cindy, she kind of said some of the things I wanted to say. I'm gonna read y'all something. And this is all that I've been thinking about this through this week as we got closer, and I was thinking how Scripture is and how she embodied so much for us of the Word, okay? And in Ephesians 4, it gives you the fruits of the Spirit, okay? And we as Christians are supposed to bear them fruits, okay? And it's very rare that you find somebody that shows them so well. And she did. She did. I'm fortunate I got Lori. And she's, as my wife, and she's, like you said, she is a sweet lady too. She's my Miss Ruby, okay? And it says, therefore, prisoners of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, enduring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body, there is one Spirit, and even as ye are called, one hope of your calling, O Lord, one faith and one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Okay? She is that Spirit that is so good, that long suffering, that thing that she is in all of us because she left it behind. She did. She really did. She touched each and every, I know how she touched my life, and I could only imagine how she touched y'all's, her family, and what she's did for you. I know she touched them. I mean, I get to share a lot of things with them, and I'm happy for that. I'm happy to be his friend. I'm happy to have seen her. And the one thing I want to say most of all is that I think I'm a better person because of Miss Ruth. I do. I think this church is in a better place, and we may be few in numbers, but we're big in heart, and that's because of her. It is. It's because of that.
It's because of that legacy that she carries, and that legacy will carry on long after all of us are gone too. Okay? She is, like you said, she's still here. She's gonna always be here. There's something there. The apple cider vinegar is just part of it. You know what I mean? It's just part of it. It's just who it is. The humble, sweet spirit that is Miss Ruby is in all of us too. And I'm thankful and I'm so happy that y'all came. And it's so good to see all y'all. It's here to hear your testimonies. I'd love to hear some more. Tell us about it. I love her. Thank y'all so much.
Who else?
Well, I was sitting back there trying to kind of gather all the memories of my grandmother. And, it's kind of hard to get up here and speak, without coming to tears and stuff. But trying to keep my words together, I had a lot of memories just sitting back there. Really, a lot more memories than what I thought I had, actually. But I just remember her being a very loving and caring grandmother, and I would always see a smile on her face, and I know that's definitely carried through to my dad, and I know exactly where he's come from, and it was definitely her. And always see a smile on his face, always happy. Going up there to see my grandmother, I would, one of the first things that I would do is make my way around to the kitchen. I know that's where she was always at, preparing lunch for us on Sundays, and check in on her, give her a hug. She'd always ask me, she'd always have a smile on her face. How you doing, John? Doing good. And miss you and all. And having lunch at her place on Sundays was definitely great. She was always serving and had a lending hand, and she was always last to eat, sitting at the table. She always made sure that we were taken care of first, and definitely I had fun with her as well. I do remember, just playing pranks on her and stuff, and always getting a smile out of her. That's typically what I try to do is my personality and stuff. So I do remember having an event at this church over here, right next door, and I remember that day at that event. My brother, he had preached I felt like I might have jumped too fast and said I'll sing up there, and knowing I can't sing. So I just remember her comforting me and singing next to me and kind of helping along that process, ease my nerves whenever I was little and stuff. What I've taken from her, what she's passed down to me, and definitely I can see, passed down into my father. There's definitely a caring heart and giving back to others, and just a warm welcoming, and all loves, hugs. So that's all I got. So thank you.
Who else? Anyone else? Okay, anyone else?
I want to thank John for getting up here, and that gave me the courage to come on up here and say what I hope the Lord can give me the strength to say, because I want to honor my mother on this day. It says in Proverbs that a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. I know sometimes we think that a simple life, a simple person is something negative, but really it's not. I regard myself as a simple person with a simple life. And my mother was that way. My dad's that way. Family, it's a good thing to be that way. Because I believe when you get into God's Word and the truth of God's Word, it simplifies your vision on your life. So there's nothing wrong with that. My mother, she was a prayerful woman. She loved Jesus. She was a pastor's wife. In her life, and she talked about God's message earlier, her life message was very consistent, I believe. Two things I can think of in her life that stand out to me. It's her commitment, one thing. In her commitment, it says in Proverbs 16:3, commit your life's work to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. So as with her, also for you, when your thoughts are established, then come your words, your actions. God's Spirit works in your life. And then you end up, He's working in your life and you're fulfilling His purpose that He has you here for. So we greatly benefited from my mother committing her life's work to God. Her commitment as a daughter, her commitment as a wife, her commitment as a mother, her commitment as a servant, in so many ways in her life. We all greatly benefited from that example of what she put into all of us. I believe the second thing in her life that stands out to me was her contentment. Her contentment in her life. As my dad mentioned earlier about being thankful for the things we have and not thinking so much and being dwelled on the things that we don't have. Her contentment, joyful contentment in her life. It says in 1 Timothy 6:6 that godliness with contentment gives you great gain. And let me tell you, her gains in her life come from so many different places, not just financially, health-wise, family-wise, spiritual-wise. And I believe in her great gains in her life that we benefited from that by her giving over her life, relenting her life to God, and accepting God's grace in her life. And she can extend all of that she had to everybody else around her. And that's what God desires for all of us. She was a great example in those two things. Commitment to God, commitment to excellence in your life, contentment, being thankful all the time, every day. And let us go through in our life as she did in her life until the very end, perseverant in her contentment, her commitment, and above all, her faith and her thankfulness until the very day that we leave this earth. Thank you.
I think what I was just trying to think, what do I want to say out of all the things you could say about Ruby Lee? And I guess she had a stay puttedness about her. She stood put. And I want to know what I'm staying put for. What's coming, you know, like what am I staying put for? Because I might want to leave if I don't like it. And Mom had never like questioned it. She just stayed put, you know, she just did it. And I think about like every night when we came home from school, she was there. Every morning she was our ride. Every evening we had supper. Every weekend Mama was there. She just had that whole stay puttedness thing down. And that has helped me in my life, you know. I'm a little bit different because I still want to know what's coming and I still want to know if I want to stay put. But I love that about her because as a child, I thought I didn't have a lot of stresses that other children had because of her stay puttedness. And I appreciate that. And then there was just some funny things I think about sometimes, you know, like the things you didn't laugh about then, you laugh about later. I had a Cato's account back in high school. And I don't know if Mama never charged much or not, but I let Mama charge on my Cato's account. And Mama, like, that was the most thrilling thing for her to go to Cato's and charge on my account. And when I shut it down, I remember it was a source of us, you know, a little something back and forth. Why'd you shut down your Cato's account? You know, like, and we would talk about it, you know, but I just remember just things about Mama, you know, solo cups. You never threw away the solo cups. And I never got that, you know, why don't we throw away the solo cups? But she didn't have to have a new car. She didn't have to have a new house. She didn't have to have, you know, fancy clothes. She just was simple, and I like that about her. And I'm glad my kids know her the way they know her, the way y'all know her is the same woman. She's no different.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else, right quick? Okay. All right, if not, let me just take a few minutes to explain to you something that we're facing and while we're here today. Ruby always had a legacy of giving. Her whole life she gave, whether she got anything back or not. And she would step out and take the first step. And I remember the day after Ruby died, I was talking to Sandra on the phone, and she said something that made me stop and think. She said, Mama was so brave. She went ahead first to make sure everything would be all right. And I thought about that a lot. You don't know the comfort that's been. But I believe she wanted to leave one last thing to this church. And as you know, our roof on this building is about 50 years old. It's leaking. And I believe her desire in her heart, if she could speak to us today, would be, I want to help you fix that roof. I want to help you fix that building for a generation of children yet to come. And we've had people give. We had a sister and our brother sent money this week for it, and others gave. And right now, we're sitting on the closer and closer to being able to do that. It's going to take us probably $6,500 to fix this roof. And what we have right now is money committed that for every dollar we raise between now and Christmas, which will be December the 25th on a Sunday, up to $2,000 they'll match it, dollar for dollar. That means you can give $20 and it'd be equal to $40. So you can give $100 and it'll be matched with $100. So I'm going to ask you between now and then to give from your heart. Dig down deep. Now don't take your regular offering and do that. This is above and beyond. This is trusting God. And I think that's the lesson Ruby would teach you. Trust God. Don't rob God. Trust Him. For you cannot give God. Everything we have belongs to Him. He owns it all. It took me years to realize that. It took me years to get to where I could tithe without wondering where'd my money go. It's God's money. Every cent of it. The house you own, the car you drive. The job you have, the health you have, the air you breathe. It all belongs to Him anyway. And you can't outgive Him. In closing, I'd like to share one other thing about Ruby. That one of the toughest guys I know, as far as tough. And listen, I met some tough guys in wrestling. But this guy was a narc agent for many years. Skeptical. Oh, he was skeptical. Of Christians, of churches, preachers. He hated preachers. And for some reason, he took a liking to me. And I kind of took a liking to him, and he came to work for me in the insurance business. And then he started coming to church down here. We were in the old building when his health was able. And after Ruby died, I tell you what he said. He said she, by the life she lived, touched more people than you preachers will ever touch with 20 years preaching. He said, I didn't listen to what you said. He said, I watched how she lived. What a difference it makes. Now you've got the opportunity to do that same thing. The legacy she left us would be, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. Be a living Bible by the example that you live. I kid Abby all the time. I call her little Ruby. She's always doing something for somebody. Big heart. Now, what we're going to do is hopefully by next Sunday, we'll have the envelopes to where we can take the part that'll go towards the roof and separate from your regular offering. But we're going to take the whole offering today and use it to match what we can of that money. Now, if we raise the $2,000, then with the matching money, we'll have the money to do the roof and not be in debt or anything, and that's the best way to do it. not be in debt. God built this whole building up here without us getting in debt. And so God can still do it. Any other word before we sing offertory? You know, this is unusual for a Baptist church to not already take an offering yet. We'll get around to it. Don't worry, we'll get around to it. See, if you came and left and we didn't take an offering, you didn't think you came to a Baptist church, right? We're glad you did. Errol, let's sing our favorite song. See, when she got sick in bed, the last 6 months of her life, she had a song she wanted to sing every night. And I think I've shared with you. Lord knows, we must have had 40 different tunes to it, depending on what kind of mood she was in. How firm a foundation, you saints of the Lord. It's laid for your faith in His excellent word. What more can He say than to you He has said, you who unto Jesus for refuge have fled. We're going to stand and sing that, and well, ask, where's Hayden? Hayden the captain. Here, Kevin, get the offering plate. This is my offering taker here now. And Hayden's my offering prayer. Hayden prays for the offering, and Kevin takes up the offering. So he'll stop in front of you, and all he's doing is giving you time to get your offering out. Will that be all right? But we thank God that you're here, and we thank God for all the blessings that you've been to Ruby and during a time of sickness. And Brother James Greb, we thank you for all the friendship you've been through the years, and the bench you put out at Miss Ruby's grave. When you go out there, James gave that bench, and we thank God for it. Okay, come on and let's sing How Firm a Foundation.